Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind the Country Chic Cottage. Today we're going to set up and use the WeCreat Laser. So this is the WeCreat Vision, and I do have the one with the rotary tool. However, I'm going to do another video with the rotary tool itself. In this video we're going to set this laser up, cut several projects, and we're even going to change that laser head out to a different laser head and do some engraving. So I'm going to show you some of the options with this laser. So let's get started first with the setup. Now you will notice that I have unboxed everything already off of camera. Now this video is sponsored by WeCreat. However, all projects and opinions are my own. So let's dive into what's included with this laser. Quick look at everything that comes in the box. You get a manual that will walk you through the setup process, a couple of samples, 2 sheets of basswood, 2 laser beds, as well as a detachable tray, Wi-Fi antenna, mini level, a tool. Now you might only get one tool if you did not get the rotary attachment accessory with it. Some grease. Then you have the exhaust hose connector, as well as a clamp. There's the power cord, USB cord, and you also get an air assist as well as the tube for the air assist itself. You may also get some spare parts, and then if you got the rotary attachment, there will be several accessories with it, as well as 2 main pieces for the rotary tool. Now we're going to set this laser up. I'm going to walk through the steps fairly quickly. However, there is an instruction manual that I showed you included in the box, and there's a QR code within that, and you can head there and watch several different videos if you want an in-depth look at setting this laser up. The setup is fairly simple, so let's dive in. In the back of the laser, you'll start by adding all of the cords. Each of the connections is marked on the back of the laser, so this is a fairly easy process. And then you will attach the hose connector to the back. You'll attach your hose to that hose connector with the clamp, and then the other end of the hose either goes out the window, or optionally you can connect it to the WeCreat fume extractor, which is sold separately. I am using the fume extractor in this video and not fitting out a window. Then you'll add the detachable tray into the front, so it just sort of slides into the grooves. You may find it easier to lift the laser up a little bit as you're inserting this. You can lift the lid to check on the inside to make sure it's sliding into place correctly. Then you want to plug the laser up and turn it on with the switch in the back. You will hear the laser start up, and then it will automatically rise up. So this is part of the auto rise feature. And now we can lift the lid and add the laser bed inside. Let's add the laser bed to the bottom with the screw side up. Let's talk about a few of the specifications for the WeCreat Vision. So I'm using the 20-watt version. There's also a 40-watt version. My 20-watt version is going to be able to cut a little bit thinner material. It's going to be a little bit slower than the 40-watt version. Then there's also a 2-watt infrared laser head that you can add to this for engraving, and we will do that later in this video. The 20-watt and the 40-watt laser head are diode lasers, so things like clear acrylic and different things like that, you might have issues when using a diode laser. However, you can cut a wide variety of materials with this machine, including wood, leather, acrylic, cardboard, denim, so many different materials. So for my 20-watt laser, it's going to be a 10mm maximum thickness. If you have the 40-watt, it'd be an 18mm maximum. Now that maximum does depend on the type of material, so be sure to check out the WeCreat website for specific information on material thicknesses. Now, what are the maximum material sizes that you can use with this machine? Now there is an optional auto pass conveyor that you can add to the bottom, and that would increase the size. But just as the laser is, what are the sizes that we can cut? The maximum cut size is 15.75 inches by 10.63 inches, and the maximum is a 5.51 inch height with that auto rise feature. The material that you put in the laser can be slightly larger than that, but that is the maximum cut size area. So with the WeCreat Laser, you get that auto lift feature. You get the air assist that comes with it. There's a built-in HD camera, which we're going to take a look at in a second. So there are tons of features that come with this machine. And then the version I have, I also showed you that I also got that rotary attachment with it. That's an optional addition. You don't have to add that when you purchase the WeCreat Vision. You can also add on that air filter that I showed you a little while ago if you don't want to vent to the outside. And then there is also that auto pass conveyor that you can add as an optional accessory to cut very long projects with this machine. Before we start cutting that first project, we never want to forget laser safety. Always have a fire extinguisher or fire blanket on hand anytime you're operating a laser. Be sure that all materials you use are laser compatible. If you use materials that are not WeCreat branded, be sure they say they are laser safe in order to avoid any toxic fumes or issues. And then the WeCreat Laser has this enclosure so that it is safe to look at the laser during operation because of this cover. If you were to lift the cover, the laser would stop, so you don't have to worry about damaging your eyes with the WeCreat Vision. And then finally, we covered ventilation a little bit, but you always want to ventilate your laser, either through an outside window or through an optional air filter accessory that is sold separately. Now my laser's set up and ready for operation. You will need to, at this point, download the WeCreat Make It software connected to the laser. Now you need to connect it with a USB port first, and then you can connect it through Wi-Fi. I've already completed those steps and now I'm ready to make a project within WeCreat Make It. Now this laser is also compatible with Lightburn, so if you use that, you can use this laser as well. This is the WeCreat Make It software. We're going to go ahead and start a new project. Now you can upload your own images with Upload. You could draw something with rectangles or circles. There's also images. So there are two different types of accounts. I have a free account that I have right now, and that is perfectly fine for using your own images or some of the free features. There is a premium account as well that will give you access to various projects. If you head to the Discover tab, you could see some of those projects and take a look at those, and perhaps a premium account would be something that you needed. For me, I'm gonna head to Canvas and I'm going to make a project. The first project we're gonna make, I'm just simply going to make a cut project, and I'm going to make it with some pre-painted wood from WeCreat. So I'm just going to upload an SVG file. And I'm just going to click upload, and I'm going to use this Hello SVG. You could also upload a ping and trace it, but to keep this first project simple, we're going to upload a SVG file and click open. Now you can see that this is a SVG file, and we can resize it as we would like to about 7 inches wide. So if we click anywhere over here, we can see a material type. If we click that, you can see a variety of materials. So I am going to cut a 3mm wood material. This bottom portion gives me an idea if I was going to engrave what kind of settings I would use for different engraving types. I'm just going to cut with this, so I'm not going to worry about these settings. You do want to make sure this is set to laser flat. Laser cylindrical would only be if you're using that rotary attachment. You also want to make sure there's a green light if you're using Wi-Fi for your laser. That means that everything is connected. If we hit the refresh button, now I can actually see that material that I added to my laser, and I can see it on my screen. So that pink painted wood is now on the screen, and I could go ahead and move this to the upper corner to get the most utilization out of my material. Now I'm going to change this to a cut file type. So the types would be engrave, which would just engrave around that outer edge, fill engrave, which would engrave on the inside as well, and then cut, which would just cut through around that outside edge. So I'm just going to cut through. Next, I want to go ahead and hit that auto focus button and allow the machine to auto focus on the material. The auto lift feature may lower during this process because this material is fairly thin. For a thicker material, it would stay up. For a thinner material, it would lower itself. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my air filter. If you are ventilating out of a window, you do not have to do that. And then I'm going to click start in order to start the process of cutting on my WeCreat laser. Once your cut is complete, the machine will rise back up to the original height. So it is at its full height during the load and unload process. Let's click the plus sign to head to a new canvas. And I'm gonna go ahead and refresh this. I have a gray piece of the same type of wood that I've now added to my WeCreat Vision. Now I'm gonna draw a circle, and I'm going to make this 10.5 by 10.5. So it's almost as large as I can make something. Now I'm gonna upload a cactus SVG. I'm just going to use the one that has a lot of different shapes in it, and we'll just put it towards the top. And I can change this up to engrave just around the outside, but I want to do a fill engrave. So now I still have the same material setting, and if I click that, I can see different options. So I probably want an 80 power, 225, 250. So now if I go to my engraving, I can do, let's do a 90 power at 225. We want to be sure this circle is a cut. Our path is a fill engrave at 90% power, 225 speed. And we'll go ahead and auto focus the laser. And now we can click start. We can go ahead and click send and press the button on the front of the WeCreat Vision to start the project. And now that I've been experimenting with that 20-watt laser head in the WeCreat Vision, why not add that 2-watt infrared head to the laser and just see what happens? Let's take a look at how to install that head so that you can make intricate engraving projects. So if you want to add another laser head, in this instance I'm adding the 2-watt laser head for some detailed engraving on metal. Before you begin this process, be sure to unplug your machine. You want to unplug your machine anytime you're working on the inside. First, you'll remove the 4 screws on the back of the laser module, and you'll take it off the X-axis carefully. On the laser module's control board, you'll open up the black latch and pull out the connecting wire. Then, because this 2-watt laser module doesn't generate very much smoke, there's no need for the air tube. So you are going to rotate and loosen the metal nut of the air tube connector and pull off the air tube. Then you'll need to replace the adapter circuit board. A new circuit board comes with the new laser head. Take out the 2 screws, remove the board. You do want to save this board if you're going to install, say in this case, the 20-watt laser head. If I want to put it back on, I'll have to repeat this process in reverse. Then we'll install the new adapter circuit board that comes with the 2-watt laser module and add the screws. Then you'll plug in the wire harness, and then you can install the new laser module with 4 screws. So set it on the X-axis and install those 4 screws. Finally, on the module control board, plug in the connecting wire. I'm going to start by pulling up the WeCreat Make It software. Now I just want to add a monogram to a jewelry charm. So I'm going to use the text feature within WeCreat Make It. You can refresh your screen to see inside of the laser so you can locate and size your design correctly. Hit text, then type your text, and you can choose from a wide variety of fonts. There are fonts within the program, and you can also pick system and pick from any of the fonts on your computer. So scroll through and find the font that you like, and then you can start resizing that letter to fit your small jewelry charm. So resize the letter to fit. I do want to note here that I did need to reboot the laser several times to get it to recognize that 2-watt laser head. So I had to reboot it several times, and I just made sure that all my connections were really tight. So you should see 2-watt in the corner if you have it connected correctly. You might try reconnecting the laser with your USB cord or something like that if you are not seeing that it is the 2-watt laser. Now once everything is ready to go, then you can hit autofocus. When it autofocuses, it picks specifically the area where you have located your design. So I located my design over the charm, and I have the charm just sitting on a piece of acrylic. Because this is so small, it might even fall through the bed of the laser. So I went ahead and put it on a piece of acrylic and just autofocused it. It autofocused perfectly right on that charm. When you go to pick your material, the screen will look completely different from the other laser head. I'm going to pick metal, and I'm going to use an aluminum for this and a 0.8 millimeters. Now you can just pick and choose from the type of material that you want to engrave from this screen to get your material settings. The material settings work the same way, so you can use the picture of that example to pick the settings that you want for your particular material. Once I have everything set up, I went ahead and clicked start to send it to my laser. Now this time I'm going to use the framing option. Because this blank is so small, I want to make sure that I actually have it located correctly and my laser is not off at all. If you hit that framing button, you do want to be very close to your laser because it will automatically start framing out your area. What it does is frame out the entire area where it's going to engrave. And you can just kind of keep hitting that framing button and look and make sure that that frame is completely on the blank itself. If it's not, you can either move your design within the program, or you can move the blank itself and relocate it within the program itself. I was pretty confident that the frame looked correct, so I went ahead and continued on and clicked the button on the front of my laser to start the engraving process. This engraving was extremely quick and it looked amazing once it was complete. So let's take a look at the projects I made with the WeCreat Vision. First of all, I cut just wood. So WeCreat has a really unique wood product that's already painted for their lasers. I actually love this product. It makes making super simple wood projects quick and easy, and it cut beautifully within the laser. I didn't even put masking or anything over this to cut it, and there wasn't any residue, so it cut amazingly, and this is one of my favorite products so far that I've cut with any laser. So I went a step further and thought, what if I cut and engraved that same painted wood product? So this is an example of that, and while it looks really great, I think it would stand out more on something that wasn't the painted gray wood. So here I was like attempting to make a door hanger, and I wasn't extremely impressed with this. Yes, that pink would still pop if I put it on the gray painted wood, but the cactus design didn't pop as much as I would like it to. So then I moved on to plain wood. Like, why not cut and engrave some plain wood and see what it looks like? And it looked great. So I did sort of a cheetah animal pattern over the top, a line across the center, and then left room at the bottom to put my painted hello right on top. It cut beautifully, engraved beautifully, and looks great. All that I would need to do to this is maybe add a bow at the top and a hanger, and I have a completed door hanger for my home. Then I didn't want to leave this review without testing a few more materials, so I made sure to test acrylic, a couple different types. The first type is a black acrylic, and it actually has a pattern applied to both sides, and it did not apply masking or anything. It cut beautifully with this laser. Then I tried just a plain color of acrylic, and I did a purple kind of to match so I could assemble these two together to make a hang tag or a keychain or whatever, and that cut great as well. So with that 2-watt engraving head, I went ahead and engraved that small charm. If I was to try to engrave that small charm with that 20-watt head, it wouldn't even have marked the surface of that shiny metal material. You need that infrared laser head to do that, and that 2-watt infrared laser head allows you to get those super small details, super small engravings quickly and easily. And the change out process was not too hard, couple bumps in the road, but I think the next time I change my heads out, it will be much easier to change out for me. So I do think you can swap the heads and this laser fairly easily to change it out for different projects that you might have in mind. So now let's talk about the pros and the cons of the WeCreat Vision Laser. So first of all, the pros. I love this rise feature, how it rises up and autofocuses, goes down on its own. You don't have to have a riser base with this one, so it's kind of like it's all included. Plus, this laser has an air assist. No additional purchase necessary, just like that auto lift feature that comes with it. The air assist comes with this machine. So that is a benefit in and of itself. Now, which laser head you get is going to depend on the power. So I have the 20-watt, which is the lower power of the diode heads. You might opt for the 40-watt to get increased capacity on like material thickness and that type of thing. I do think both heads perform great. I didn't have a ton of trouble with the settings because I love in the software that easy to use little photo of kind of what the settings do for engraving purposes. So I could pick the setting that I wanted each and every time. Didn't have a ton of trouble, and I experimented a little bit just to kind of see, and I felt like the photo that is within the software is very true to what you are going to get out of this machine. Now the machine itself was very easy to set up. Now I'm going to move into the cons a little bit because I'm not crazy about the software. It was a little bit hard to use, so I do feel like you'll have a learning curve with the software itself. However, I think once you get used to it and once you get to using it, you won't have any problems at all. But at first you might have trouble learning how to do different things, but I feel like a quick Google search, maybe a few YouTube videos, and you'll be well on your way to using the WeCreat Make It software. Then while I love this auto rise base, Because it always stops in the up position, so it's in its resting position here at the top, it is very tall. So once I have it sitting on this tall table, as you can see, I'm standing next to it on purpose because it is very tall and I kind of have to lean over to get down in there. So it is a little bit inconvenient. So a couple things you could do. Number one is you could opt for a lower table height for this particular laser in your craft room. Or you could do something like an adjustable table so that no matter where the head is for whatever process that you are working on, you can adjust the table so that you don't have to bend over the top or get a step stool to get inside the laser. So just think about those options. When you purchase this laser, what are you going to put it on? Make sure it's a lower table or an adjustable height table. While I did love the framing option with this, so I could see exactly where it was going to cut or engrave, I don't like that when I press it in the software, it automatically starts. I have a laptop, so it wasn't that big of a deal for me to take my whole laptop, put it over here on the table beside the laser, hit framing so I could watch it. It would be much more convenient if I could hit framing on my computer and then walk over here to the laser and maybe press the button on the front or something to watch it go. That is by no means a game changer for like if I'm going to purchase this laser or not. It's just a little bit inconvenient. So with this one, it's summertime in Tennessee. I would like air conditioning as much as possible, so I did use the air filtration system that you can purchase as an optional accessory with the WeCreat Vision. I will say that the whole filtration system, when it's on, it is, number one, it's very loud, and number two, the part I really do not like is that it does not automatically come on when the laser does. So you have to remember to turn that air filter on before you operate the laser. And a few times I caught myself forgetting to turn it on because it does not automatically cycle with the laser and I wasn't venting out a window. So I needed to be sure to turn the air filter on before I started operating the laser. So maybe a reminder for yourself, something on the front of the laser, something on the table under the laser, maybe a little reminder for yourself to be sure that that air filter is on if you're using that instead of venting out a window. Now, if you're like, I definitely want to get the WeCreat Vision, or I want to learn more about it, I want to see pricing, that type of thing, I am going to drop the links to get this machine and all the accessories I talked about in the description below this video. So head there for those links, and that way you can check out the pricing of the machine itself just as a standalone, the machine with the rotary tool like I talked about in the beginning. I didn't show it in this video, but you can purchase it at the same time and allows you to engrave tumblers and that type of thing. And also the other accessories I use, like the air filter and things that would need to be purchased separately. Those will all be listed below, so you can check out the pricing, all the specifications, and make sure that the WeCreat Vision is the laser for your craft room. Overall, I like this machine and I cannot wait to use it in the future for some more projects. So now I want to hear from you. What would you like to see me make, or what kind of things would you like to see me do with the WeCreat Vision? If there is anything you would like to see, drop down in the comment section and leave me a list. If you have any questions about the WeCreat Vision itself, the setup process that I went through, or anything else that we covered today, you can ask those questions below as well. If you liked this video, if it helped you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you all so much for joining, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.